And welcome to Cruise Control, your on-air automotive magazine with Fred Staab and Les Jackson. Hello, Les. How are you? I guess we got to swap
Fred,
around.
good.
I was going to come in,
Good.
but hey.
Well, I'm still all kind of dizzy from being around 600 cars 2 days ago.
Yeah, you were at the Washington, D.C. Auto Show, and you've got some great information, right?
Absolutely. I met up with a lot of influencers, and I mean industry influencers, not lifestyle influencers, and saw a lot of plans for the future.
Yeah.
And discussed a lot with Michael Catone, president of Volvo. Lovely guy. We spent a lot of time together.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear about that because Volvo is, splitting that hair between electric vehicles and hybrids, and they've got some great ones. So we're going to talk about that, but we're going to start with big stories this week, including potential tariffs that could potentially start today, although I doubt they will. But who knows?
I think they're going to start today.
All right. Well, we'll talk about what the industry thinks about that. And already some manufacturers are changing around plans that could get pretty interesting.
Yeah, this is going to get real interesting, as is the quest for less expensive cars. It's continuing as manufacturers start to respond to what customers want.
Yeah.
They're
Apparently,
listening.
there was a Toyota meeting. You and I were discussing the Yaris last week. Now, dealers are saying, "Give us a new Yaris." So that's
Yes,
interesting.
including other manufacturers saying, "Give us a new type
Whatever.
of Yaris."
Yeah.
Uh,
And as we started to tease a little bit at the beginning of the show, you had a nice conversation at the Volvo booth, right, with the CEO.
Absolutely, absolutely. We just sat, had coffee, and he talked about what he's doing with various models. He has 16 models at the show.
Wow.
7 of them are hybrids and EV.
Wow. And I know they have the EX30 coming out. It kind of hits all the areas. It's an EV,
That's
and it
right.
is less expensive, and it's exciting. I'm going to be getting into that soon, and I can't wait to try it out. But we're also going to have a reveal from BMW, their iX. That was one of the new reveals this week, the 2026 iX. So we'll talk about that, right?
That's exactly right. And there's going to be a 6-pack summer.
Oh boy, hold my
Um,
beer.
I'm holding your beer, and the gas-powered Charger rolls out with 450 or more horsepower from a
Yes.
straight six.
Yeah.
And I got to see the EV version with Fratzonic exhaust close and personal
Wow.
on Thursday.
I want to get your take on that, hearing it up close and what it was like. But the other thing I'm excited about, that Charger is going to, I'm sure they'll make a police car. They have a 4-door version of it. And
Oh
imagine a
yeah, oh yeah,
450 horsepower straight six police car. Because the 450 is the base model. It is the
yeah,
base engine there. So I think 550 is the top. But 450, my gosh, huh?
yeah. 450 is adequate. It's
Thank you. That was adequate. But
that's right.
that's just a little bit about what we're getting into. Also got news about Nissan. The big layoffs are coming and plant closures. But I don't know if I would close any U.S. plants about now with potential tariffs on the horizon. How about you?
Me too. And I saw the new Murano again, close and personal. It's really nice.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Well, let's jump into the whole idea of the tariffs. Today could potentially be the start of 25% tariffs on vehicles built in Mexico and Canada.
Yeah,
There are a lot of vehicles built in Mexico for sure because they build them there because it's less expensive and it's easy to ship back to the U.S. there's always been some built in Canada, but I guess the vast majority are built in Mexico, right? When they're built
Well,
out of state, out
that's
of
right.
country.
But a huge amount of parts, car parts, are built in Canada.
Yes, always
And
have been.
and this is very important. The just-in-time inventory is how the factories work. You can't slow that down. And these are, well, I mean, I think the whole tariff idea is silly.
I
Uh,
think it might be a
most
saber rattle, frankly.
Yeah,
I think,
most economists agree that it doesn't work. Somebody has to pay the money,
yeah,
and that somebody is you and me. And Canada, both Canada and Mexico have already said they're going to respond uh, immediately with their own tariffs. So
I believe Canada said it would add 100% to the price of a Tesla.
I hope so.
There you go.
I mean, I just hope it's a tariff war and it stops this foolishness.
I'm more of a
But
carrot guy. I'd rather say, well, if you build it in the U.S., we'll cut your taxes.
absolutely,
So,
that's how
or
it works.
something, or whatever you
That's
do, you
how
know.
yeah, that's how we have so many factories here from all the, not all, but almost all the foreign automotive brands, because carrots, economic carrots, were
Awarded.
offered and they took them.
Yeah. Well, interesting story here. Porsche may start building, if this happens, Porsche may
Yeah.
start building their vehicles in the U.S. They're talking about looking at plants down south. There's extra capacity in Chattanooga
Hmm.
as well. Volkswagen plant, which of course they're part of the same team. So, that's a possibility. And then, we're going to get into it, but Nissan is looking to do big cuts, maybe close factories. They have U.S. factories, so I think they could easily get someone to buy those factories, don't you?
You know, and I really hate to bring this up, Fred, because, but when I was talking with the folks at Honda,
Mm-hmm.
and there were some executives from Honda, they said, "Well, don't rule out the merger."
Really?
And I thought,
We're
and so
talking
I
about the
said, "That's
Nissan Honda merger, maybe not
right."
Mitsubishi. Yeah.
And that's, I said, "Really?" And they said, "Yeah, we haven't really given that up." And I said, "Well, can you elaborate? This is kind of important." They said, "No, we can't talk about it."
All right.
But the
Well,
very fact that they brought it up is meaningful to me.
hmm.
I just, anyway,
Who
it's
knows?
just
Maybe
too
they'll close
confusing.
their factories and do Nissan vehicles at a Honda factory. Who knows?
Maybe,
You know,
maybe.
I just go back to the head of Honda saying I can't really think of any positives on this deal for us.
Well, I see. That's where we left off a week or two ago.
So
Um, yeah,
I don't know. I think what happens when things like tariffs are mentioned, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we'll be talking next week, and it'll be tariffs are on, and there's a side sticker on everyone's window that oh yeah 25%. But I think I may be wrong. I think it might be to get deals like this Porsche thing going. Or that might be a response to it, be like, hey, what if we made our cars in the U.S.? Is it someone responding to it? You know what I mean? Is it a way to get
yeah.
people talking about this stuff, or what? I've read articles this morning at breakfast. People were like, should I go out and buy a new car immediately today? In the morning to avoid a 25% tariff.
Well, yeah, I think that's jumping the gun because
Yes.
you don't know what is being, what parts or what cars are subject to the tariff, and anything that's in the pipeline should be exempt,
Don't know.
just
I
because it was already built.
Maybe they'll say print out these stickers and put them on the window.
Well, you can count on the dealers to take advantage of.
Yes, they've already put the stickers on, even though it's not
That's
quite.
right.
Yeah, yeah. Oh,
That's
dealer tariff. Yes. We have another story on that a little bit later on about you
yeah.
know fees and things. So we'll talk about that. But let's get into a little bit about Nissan. And I told you about Nissan to cut jobs and production. And it's kind of a sad deal here because it appears they're getting ready to do some big cuts ahead of the merger with Honda. And as you know, one of the things for Nissan and Honda to join up, at least as we've been covering here on Cruise Control, is that Nissan has to become profitable like by the end of the month or something.
right.
Um,
Right.
so they're talking about cutting two manufacturing plants, jobs at two manufacturing plants in Tennessee and Mississippi. Um, they have four active production lines. They could cut them from four each to two each and cut production by 25%. I don't think you can cut your way to profitability, can you?
Well, you can't, but at the same time, if you're building at the rate that full production allows you, you end up with that wonderful situation that Saturn was in, if you remember back in the 90s, where they had over 260 days supply.
Right.
And you just, well, who's winning there? It's just an enormous expenditure of money, stacking up vehicles nobody's buying. So
Yeah.
I think you can't. You're right. You can't cut your way to profits, but you certainly can cut down what your expenses are,
Right.
which and that's the terrible thing about that is it's in Tennessee and Mississippi, both, especially Mississippi, both, uh, states need serious jobs.
Yeah. Although, once again, if the tariffs come through and Nissan is not using these plants to full potential, maybe there's additional work
They could
there. Uh,
call them right back in. So
or have them build something
yeah,
else, which
or
takes
build
time and
something else.
tooling to get going. But
Yeah, the beauty is these guys are really good about converting plants quickly
yeah,
to make something.
yeah, yeah. You and I have talked
Yeah,
about that. That's an art. That how do you how do you remember when we had the Corvette guys on and they're like, well, we're getting a whole new assembly line. They didn't say why, but we knew why for the
yeah,
C8. But how do you start building that? there's a project, you know.
yeah.
So
Well,
uh,
yeah. How do you go about building something that complex quickly
yes,
uh, and properly?
yeah. Well,
So
let's talk about a big story that we've been covering, and people want less expensive vehicles. There's stories where people
yeah,
are trading in big trucks and they're getting something like a Chevy Trax, a much smaller vehicle, and they want the lower payment. They want a smaller vehicle. They just, they want to pay less. Um, so what has been happening is dealers have been saying, "Hey, we want smaller vehicles." And it's interesting to see how people are responding. Less expensive vehicles they want. And one of the ways over at Stellantis, they have a number of big projects underway. One of them is to make the Ram less expensive, the Ram truck. They used to have the Ram Classic, and that went away because it was an older model, and the old boss decided to kill it. And now there's talk that they're going to come out with something like a little bit better optioned tradesman, give it a name, and get the price of the full-size Ram to a starting price for a decently equipped vehicle to about $40,000, which would be which would be a
Yeah.
big plus, right?
Well, that's right, and it's very clear that they and other companies are desperate to really come out with some lower priced. I don't like to use the word cheap because no such thing as a
Affordable.
cheap. Affordable. Affordable is the perfect word.
Yeah.
Good but affordable,
Yeah. Yeah. So,
and I think it's easy to do. It's just that you have to decide to do it.
yeah. You have to decide to do it. Now, over at Stellantis, they're talking about that. They're talking about some less expensive Jeeps. And
Yep.
next week in Chicago, they're going to have an entry level Jeep Wagoneer S that will debut. Uh, it will cost less than $70,000. That's nice. Um,
Well,
and, and they're going to drop the limited version to cost around 67,000. How low will they go? I don't know, 60,000,
well,
something like
it's
that,
going to
maybe.
have to be a lot lower than 70 grand.
And it gives you a 50-mile range with the smallest.
Well, yeah. It's, I mean, all of these things, of course, the Washington Auto Show, aside from being an auto show for the public, is an auto show for all of the regulators and
Mm-hmm.
the safety agencies and the industry representatives to and the mobility people to see what's
What's
up,
going on?
what what do we need to do, and these kinds of things are were discussed all day Tuesday at various talks that I went to because um, you know you want to see what's on your minds, what do you think you need to address, and a big subject was affordable, well-equipped vehicles and smaller versions of trucks.
Yeah,
By the way, of the 600 vehicles in that show,
right.
I counted it. 99 were trucks,
Wow.
and
Full-size trucks.
it's crazy. This is an urban. There aren't any farms within within
Yeah, yeah,
20 miles of here.
yeah.
Um,
Well, and then you look back to Nissan again. What is Nissan going to kill in 2026? They're going to kill the Altima and the Versa.
yeah,
Right.
but you know what they're not going to kill? The Armada.
No, exactly. 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 And,
Yeah,
it kind of continues over at Alpha. Uh, they're talking the Giulia, the next generation of Giulia will be a crossover. They're not going to do any more sedans. That was one thing that they want to do. They're going to go more with a crossover version of the Giulia, if they call it the Giulia.
yeah.
I mean, really, when will this stop? I mean, sedans are great. There's nothing wrong with a sedan.
Well, you're not going to get an argument from me. And wonderfully, the full line manufacturers at the show are really showcasing sedans,
Wow. But there are very
and obviously
few.
all of the SUVs too. But you know, they're not shy about it.
No, no. I mean, when we say full line manufacturer, GM and Ford are no longer full line manufacturers. Neither
They are
neither is
not.
Stellantis. None of the American companies are, and companies like Kia and Hyundai are full line manufacturers. They build everything from the Venue, Hyundai's Venue, all the way up to large 3-row SUVs,
Right.
and plenty of sedans.
And they've
Nissan
got,
has
yeah,
been a full line. I think they probably won't be anymore.
I believe they'll stay that way if they can hang on. It was fun watching for the first time at the show here. Kia was on one side of the big room, and Hyundai on the other. with the enormous booths. The convention center is 1,000 feet long.
Okay.
So the size of these display areas are huge, and everything they make was
It's a
was
lot.
there, and you can't help but be impressed with that they're willing uh, to say, we're going to make this stuff because somebody wants it.
Right. Yeah.
So
Well, a
great.
Toyota too. Toyota and Lexus. You look at,
Toyota too, yeah.
they have tons of different sedans. They have, I just got out of the Toyota Corolla, right, which is currently their smallest vehicle, but
Yeah.
who knows? Dealers might want something smaller. And, it's a great vehicle. And I think a lot of people don't think about those vehicles. So just jumping quick back to Alpha. What they're saying is potentially less. They might bring in to for the people that are upset that Julia is going away, they would possibly bring in the Junior. Now, if you remember, this used to be called the Milano, but there's a rule
Hmm.
in Italy that says if it's not made there, you can't use the name Milano. So they swapped in Junior, which apparently has some
Reasonable.
meaning in Alpha and Alpha Land. But um, I don't know if I mean this is a smaller vehicle, electric vehicle. Maybe I don't know if it drives like an Alpha. Maybe that's a good idea. It might come to the U.S. I don't know if it will be less expensive or not. Probably not. But that's one of their ideas to kind of make up for the fact that the Julia will be the next generation of it will be a crossover. So I don't see that trend stopping right now. I think the people that have sedans will kind of one of my theories in life is everything that is common becomes premium at some point or
Exactly.
unique. And so that's at some point sedans will become unique and it will be that will be a big deal to have a sedan in your lineup. But I'm glad to see there are still some full line manufacturers. Um,
Yeah.
it's noticeable though, isn't it? You go to the Ford booth. There's what the Mustang. That's it.
There was two Mustangs, and then everything else was trucks. Obviously, the EV,
Mach-E, yeah.
and actually a very nice Lightning.
Mm-hmm.
I will say it was really slick with all
Slick
kinds
looking.
of neat stuff, including the electrically folding gear shift lever.
Yeah, that's nice. That is a neat thing. So
It is neat. I mean, it's a gadget, but
I would
it's
go what Les
it's
Jackson
really
normally says. That's nice, but it will break. And your gear
well. It
shifter is
will.
not something you want to break. If it's
It,
your electric seat in the
yeah,
back that flips and folds, okay, you can drive it to the dealer. But if your gear shift
yeah.
breaks,
The gear shift, and about 5 or 6 years down the road, that's not going to work, and I think you'll be annoyed.
yeah. Hey, you're listening to Cruise Control with Fred Staab and Les Jackson. We are glad you're along for the ride. I want to jump into your conversation with the CEO of Volvo because Volvo consistently builds great, safe products. They're like a piece of furniture. And when you sit in there,
Yes, they are. They are.
uh,
That's well put.
and in a good way. I'm saying that in a good way. It's always a
Hmm.
pleasant, um, high quality experience sitting in a Volvo. So tell us a little bit about your conversation with the CEO because Volvo. They kind of made a big thing. They wanted to go all electric, phasing out. We're not building any more gas engines or developing them. But they still have gas engines. And of course, like every manufacturer, they've had to adjust to the EV thing getting a little bit ahead of its game. Uh, I'm interested in what he said about that, what he thinks the future of gas engines are for Volvo, how he sees a transition happening. Even some of the safety things, like what is he looking at as safety technology that's not in the vehicles now, but he maybe like to
Well,
see?
it's interesting you mentioned that because we talked about all three. And we were actually sitting in, when we were talking, having our coffee, we were sitting in from their museum a 1959 Volvo.
Wow.
The ones that look like the 30s Fords. Uh, Beautiful, obvious condition. Very, very plain, very primitive, but clearly um, the old Volvo,
Well, was that the first
and
vehicle to have a seatbelt?
it was,
Mm-hmm.
and it was, it was a simple seat belt, but it was safer than anything
Better than
else.
hitting your face on the windshield.
Absolutely. So, anyway, we were talking then. We were, of course, talking about what's going on with electrification, and I actually said, well, you've got one EV here, but you've got seven, rather six hybrids, and then the rest gasoline powered. And that to me, and I felt like I was talking to you, Fred, because I said to me, uh, the real world wants to go to hybrids first
Mm-hmm.
and work up to electrics. And he said, well, that's what we feel too. That perhaps we've pushed a little bit too hard for too quickly with EVs. We certainly want to build them, but hybrids for most people right now make the most sense,
Mm-hmm.
especially since the cafe rules have been reversed, not reversed, but shut
Loosened,
off
I guess. Yeah.
from the last administration to this one.
Another big
So,
story this week, actually.
which is not good for the environment, but it's a little breathing room for the manufacturers to kind
Yeah.
of
You should say
get
once
going.
again who you're speaking to. This is the CEO of
Yes,
Volvo.
this is Michael Catone, who is the president of Volvo USA. Very
Mm-hmm.
nice fella,
Great.
very open, willing
Mm-hmm.
to talk to anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and and he said, so I said, well, just you don't have to commit to this,
Once you
but
say
what?
it, you have to do it.
But that's right. But you can't unsay it.
Yeah.
So when do you think EVs are going to really be hitting the marketplace in a major way? And he said, I believe by 2030
Okay.
we'll be seeing that. And then we'll be phasing the internal combustion out as the demand takes over. So
Right.
I think that's pretty honest.
Did he talk about like the EX 90 and the EX 30? I mean, EX 30, I'm pretty excited about. That's their affordable uh, electric vehicle, and it's a great
Yeah,
looking vehicle. It's kind of a fun interior. I'm interested to see if maybe he thought that would bring some more people into the electric
he
tent.
he's very. They had it there uh, displayed next to a body in white of the EX30.
Okay.
And for people that don't know, a body in white is the actual sh- skeleton, the
Shell.
shell
Yeah.
of a car body, color coded to tell you which areas are high speed or high strength steel, which parts are aluminum, which parts blah blah blah,
I always
to
found
show
them
you
in
this.
interesting to look at because they're beautifully
Well,
constructed.
but it shows the safety aspects, and we got into this whole discussion about, because now people are gathering around and they're and they're listening to us. Um, and I said, well, this really demonstrates that the vehicle is designed to die,
Yeah.
kill itself to save your life. And he said, that's exactly what we're trying to tell people.
Yeah.
Don't worry about the car. Don't care about the car.
No, that's expendable.
Let it
Yeah.
die.
Yeah.
You're much easier to, or it's a whole lot easier to replace than you are.
Yeah.
So that's very clever because here's this affordable EV, and but still you're getting incredible technology in it.
Right. Right.
So
Did he talk about any safety systems that he'd like to see, across the board or that he thinks are emerging?
um, we were talking about safety quite a bit because I'm going to be down at the IIHS test facility in April 24th.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm gonna, well, it's a Thursday, but I'm thinking maybe I can take some equipment down and do a remote from there. I'm going to try work on that.
Great.
Um, but and we were talking about what's lacking
Mm-hmm.
in vehicles, and there isn't much lacking,
Right.
but still, the big problem is side impacts. You still haven't engineered that away. They're very good,
Mm-hmm.
and also rollovers, which brought us on the subject of large SUVs and trucks.
Mm-hmm.
And he's disturbed that so, as am I, so many people are buying big SUVs and trucks because they easily go out of control and can roll over.
Okay. Now,
And
with that in mind, they have some sedans in their lineup. They have some station wagons, like one I was in recently, which I love.
yeah,
Did he say anything like, hey, but we're going to keep sedans in the lineup, or?
yes, he said we love sedans.
Okay.
And I said, I love you. Uh, and and station wagons. We don't understand why Americans shy away from station wagons. And I said, frankly, I think it's marketing.
Yeah, I
Um,
guess
the,
they were so popular for so long, although
and
that's ancient history now.
well, that's right. Most people alive today don't remember station wagons.
Except us, which says something. But
So and they're very very popular in Europe. It's not like nobody knows about them.
right, right.
So it was refreshing.
Yeah,
It really was refreshing to talk to Volvo.
yeah. As I say, they always are finely crafted vehicles, and I the other thing I want, and maybe he didn't speak to this, but I'm still not understanding the Polestar brand as being enough of a different brand from Volvo. I mean, I know their performance, I know they're electric, but seems like a big overlap there. But hey, that's fine. The more the merrier. More to talk
Yeah.
about on cruise control, right?
We didn't I deliberately didn't bring up Polestar because Polestar is there at the show in a different display area. So I just thought, well, unless he brings it up, I won't talk about it.
Yeah.
And we didn't. We did talk a little bit about the dealer system,
Mm-hmm.
which he believes in. He believes that dealers are the best source of buying vehicles until society changes somehow.
Okay.
And that's a reasonable statement if you think about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there. That's. I think the experience could be made better. The dealership experience could
Well,
be
I
made
think the
better.
experience at Volvo dealers is pretty good.
Yeah. Uh,
It's not like buying a.
what about
Um,
just having a set price? That's it. You know,
yeah,
just have a set price. Don't do any of the haggling,
yeah,
and
yeah,
just say, "Hey, do you want any of this other stuff here? The wax or the whatever," and you say no. It's like okay.
yeah. And I think a number of dealers are doing that.
Yeah. And say, make it quick. We don't have to sit there all day long and
Yeah,
have a big thing. It should just be like anything. I I think perhaps what Hyundai's doing over at Amazon, where yeah, there is a dealer involved, so it's legal and the dealers get it. You go online, you look at the price, you put it in your cart, and that's it. And
Yeah.
I think what the dealers could do is they could have areas where you go and look at these vehicles. You know, we always say this about the car shows that it's great. You go there, you can sit in it, you can look at it, and nobody's going to say, I need your name and phone number and email, and I'll be following up
Yeah.
25
It's
times in the next hour. There should be a place, not unlike Tesla. I've gone in Tesla stores, no one says boo to you. And I just sit in there. I remember I was on a car trip for another brand. I was like, well, let's take a look at this. And I'm looking, and I think guy came over and said, hey, if you have any questions, let me know. I said, okay, no problem. And I told him why I was there. He said, oh, that's interesting. And I said, yeah, we're staying right down the street. So I figured I'd walk in and look at Tesla. He said, cool. Let me know if you have any questions.
yeah.
Um, and that to me sells vehicles, it. And then if you're interested, you go to the kiosk, and or you pick up your phone and put one in your cart. What about that? It still has dealers.
That that's right. That is really certainly around here. That kind of dealership is really taking off. An awful lot of them do it.
Yeah. Interesting. And we'd like our audience's opinion on that. What do you think about that? Would that, if you can't get rid of the dealers completely because of an extremely strong
Well, because
lobby
of
and
laws,
laws,
yeah,
yeah, uh,
lobbied laws.
lobbied laws, would you like something like that where you go online, you're not spending all day there, you're not getting worked, and there's not the kabuki theater of ask my manager and this, that, and the other thing, and oh, you got this one, and I come in, and then it's not that price, So I think that would be good, right?
Well, it's the way things should be. It should be like going to the store and buying a loaf of bread.
Yeah. Now,
Just
I intended to talk about this on this edition of Cruise Control, but this is the perfect segue for it. Of course, you heard about this, the rule known as combating auto retail scams, or CARS, which
yes,
which was sought to eliminate bait and switch pricing, was struck down in the Fifth U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals. The two judges sided with dealership groups, and a third dissented, emphasizing that Congress has already granted FTC authority to implement consumer protections in the auto industry. This was going to get rid of junk fees, advertising fees, the document fee, just silly stuff.
yeah.
But it got struck
Well,
down.
that's because the judges' names were Dewey Cheatham, uh, and what's in it for me. Um, but yes, it got struck down. It's actually a again, it's part of the law. In the United States, you just really don't get justice; you get law because we have um, so much crazy loopholes
Yeah.
and interpretation in our laws. But that's the way it is. Um, and that cars was part of the which I hope holds because it's still there, the Consumer Financial Protection Agency, which they've
Mm.
been trying to kill for a number of years.
Mm-hmm.
That's loan sharking and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Um, I hope that stands. I'm worried about it.
I still say if you're buying a vehicle, and this is my advice, don't finance it through the dealer. Just
No.
go in and say, tell me the full out the door price and break it down with all these fees. Don't try to, because they try to do it like, oh, it's all about the payments, and like they'll
Yeah.
swing stuff
Yeah.
in. Don't trade a car in. Don't trade a car in. don't it like give them very little opportunity to work these numbers into this stew that you
Right.
don't know what it is. Because when you buy something, you'd be like, what does it cost? That should be a simple thing. Oh, okay. The car has a sticker of 35,000. We're discounting it to 32,000. There are several fees. Oh, well, you have to pay tax and licensing fees. Sure, that's just
Sure.
you have to pay that. What are the other
And
things?
yeah, but you don't have to pay for extended warranty. You don't have to
No,
pay um, uh, for you better
Scotch
not
guarding
pay for
seats.
rust protection because that will actually void your factory rust warranty.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
You don't have
and
to do
and
anything
paint,
to a new
please,
car.
yeah, please, paint protection and fabric, please don't.
Right, right. Yeah. The
Yeah,
problem is the problem is sometimes you go into a dealer and these things have already been, or allegedly already been done to these cars, and you want to
yeah,
buy one off the lot. Uh, you could always say, "I'll tell you what, I'll take this one, but I'm not paying for that stuff because I don't want it."
exactly.
Or
Yeah,
I'll order one and I'll wait. I don't care. So, do you want to sell this
and
one,
they,
or do you
yeah,
want to wait? Wait. I don't care if I have to wait 6 months.
exactly. Because remember, any of these things these extras cost the dealer peanuts compared to what they're charging. Fabric protection is $20 tops
Yeah.
to the dealer. Paint protection, it's maybe 40 or 50.
Yeah. Oh well, it's a can of Scotch Guard. That's what it is. You can buy it
Yeah,
for six
so
bucks. So
that's that's right.
you know,
Yeah,
if you really
ceramic
want that,
protection.
yeah, you can buy that for maybe twenty
You
five,
can
30
buy it.
bucks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and put it on yourself. It goes
Yeah.
on with a rag.
It apparently works well. So there
It
are a
works
lot
well
of
if you
options.
have the car garaged, it works well. If it's out in the weather, you've wasted your money.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about something that BMW is showing this week, and this is their new version of their iX. Their iX, and it is has increased power, range, and efficiency. It's fully electric, a SAV, sport activity vehicle. By the way, the steering wheel, it's interesting. It looks like it's an upside down, flat bottom steering wheel. It's like a flat topped steering wheel.
Yeah, I
Uh,
I wish. Yeah, I just leave a steering wheel alone. It's,
Les says, leave the steering wheel alone. Uh,
yeah,
it has, whatever this means, a simplified design language. But
I was just gonna say that.
mhm. New grille and headlight design. I kind of like it. It's angular. It's very fractal. That's how you would have called that if you were animating that in the past. Fractal looking.
It
You know.
yeah,
Um, I
it
like it.
looks.
A lot of people don't, I guess.
I think the word I would say is it looks chiseled.
Chiseled. Yeah, that's a good word to say.
Um,
Chiseled.
and it's okay. It's not my favorite design look, but it's okay.
It has a modest, by today's standards, 402 horsepower. Isn't
Oh
that?
well, that's okay.
Isn't that? But you can get the iX X Drive 60 with 536 horsepower, with a range of 340 miles, and then you can step up even beyond that for the iX M70X Drive.
Hmm.
Um, so range is good. Even the base one gets 312. The styling's cool. I don't know what makes it into a sport activity vehicle. By the way, it looks like it has fake exhaust on it, which is a problem for me. Of course, an electric car doesn't need exhaust. It does have progressive luxury and refined sportiness, Les Jackson.
Well, um, actually, I like the term sport activity vehicle. I like it better than sport utility vehicle.
Okay.
Same thing.
appealing options from climate comfort package to panoramic eclipsing roof and a tow hitch. That's actually what it says here in the release. And a
That
tow hitch.
I don't think anyone's going to tow anything with this.
Towing with electric vehicles is not great, I don't think, in anyone. But the new iX xDrive 60. That's the kind of the mid-range one. 20 horsepower increase over the previous xDrive 50, and that comes up to 536 horsepower. 0 to 60 in 4.4 seconds. So, I think it's an interesting looking vehicle. It is certainly, as I say, I like that kind of angular, chiseled look. It has a new heat pump function, which is one of the best things about electric cars in cold weather. Heat right away, right? But
Absolutely.
this is not going to be, let's say, inexpensive, okay? So we have some of the numbers
no.
for this. The iX xDrive 45, that is the one with 312 miles of range, 402 horsepower. 75,150. The iX xDrive 60, that's the next step up, 88,500. And the iX M70 xDrive, top of the range, $111,500. This does not go in with our story earlier of cheaper vehicles.
It does not. Yeah. Well, part of that is you're buying that logo.
Yeah.
They build good cars. You got to admit.
It has a flat-topped steering wheel, and a tow hitch.
Flat top steering wheel and a tow hitch, and it's out of the price range of most of us.
Yeah, I'm sure it's nice. I, for one, like the exterior styling. A lot of people might not, but I like it. I think it looks it's an interesting update on the look of that. See that? It's flat topped and flat bottomed, the steering wheel.
Yeah.
I've never seen that before. That's just to see past, see everything. Looks like it has good rear leg room and a heat pump. So there you have it. Hey, you ready for a 6-pack summer? Yeehaw.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Now, this is kind of a holdover of the old CEO of Stellantis, because if they had to do it again, they would have brought the gas-powered charger out first and then the electric charger. But coming this summer, there will be this 6-pack. It is no longer 6 carburetors. It is a straight 6, 450 horsepower, up to 550 horsepower Dodge Charger. And I think this is going to be pretty exciting. They're going to pull a lot of power out of these. I'm sorry, I got that wrong. 420 it starts at and goes up to 550.
Right.
More than the Hemi. Lighter engine. And I think this will be pretty interesting for the performance types. What do you say?
I think you're right, and I think that, by the way, the one that they were showing at the show, which was the EV, was that actual color.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a neat looking car.
Yeah. I have not seen it up close in real life yet, but I tell you, I do like the lines of it. I think it's going to make an outstanding, police vehicle with a 420 horsepower engine, and they do have a 4-door, and they haven't officially announced the Pursuit yet, but they will be doing that, and it will be a great vehicle for that.
It will be, yes.
It will look
Um,
pretty mean with a light bar on top, you know?
it will make, if you want a performance car, it will make you happy.
Yeah. Um, and once again, I think they would have brought this out sooner. They would have brought this out first, or maybe even at the same time. But this was the idea of the old CEO, and it's just something that they had to deal with. I think this will sell much better than the electric version, but that's just my
I
take.
think it will.
You know, um, I I think I think you will see a lot of these on the road. But you had a chance at the Detroit Auto Show, at the DC Auto Show, Washington D.C. Auto Show. You saw the Charger up close. Tell us a little bit about what you thought, and then you heard the Frazonic exhaust.
Frazonic. Um, that very color, that very body, the you don't see it in our video here, but where the hood slopes down before you get to the very front face, that actually cuts down underneath like a big
Scoop.
forward air scoop.
Mm-hmm.
It looks really slick in person.
Wow.
And the interior is very purposeful looking,
Mm-hmm.
comfortable, good bolstering,
Mm-hmm.
and when you start it up in the Fratzonic mode,
This is the electric model now. This is the
this is
electric.
the electric one.
Yep.
But when you put it in that mode, in a room, in a conference room.
Okay, that would be loud to start
Now,
anything.
by the way, this appealed to me greatly because it was filled, a bunch of us, automotive journalists, but predominantly um, Capitol Hill people.
Okay. There's a few
Uh,
car people there in that mix.
well, yes, some, but most are just,
There's some
working for
collectors.
whatever.
Yeah.
The regulators, you name it. And I got ready. I kept my hands real close
Because
because
it's going to be loud.
it's going to be, and it was fun when the guy said, "Okay, I'm going to start it, and it's going to be loud."
Mm-hmm.
And as you know, Fred, it shook the whole room.
Sure.
Um, and I was ready. I was, my ears were covered. They weren't, and
Oh, man.
it was
And they
just
jumped. Did they jump when somebody
yeah, a
kicked the
bunch.
throttle?
Yeah. And fortunately, the fellow that was demonstrating it only kept it on for 10, 15 seconds or so.
Didn't have to worry about carbon monoxide or anything.
No,
How did it sound?
uh,
Did it sound fake to you?
no. Honestly, it sounded just like the real thing, like a Hellcat or
With a burble at idle?
a burble at idle, and then wow, and he revved it right up.
Wow. Okay.
So it's a serious thing they've done. I don't know how they did it, but they've duplicated the sound.
Wow. Interesting. Well, interesting. I'll hold judgment until I drive it and hear it, but I do think
Yeah,
it's a good looking vehicle. As I say, it's going to make a dynamite police car. It looks good as a
it
four door
really
too, and
it
you probably
really is
didn't
a
see
good
that
look.
yet. I've only seen a
Yeah,
yeah.
it's
What
really a good looking vehicle.
did you get a chance to sit in it?
No, I didn't. Too many people were crowding around it afterward.
Yeah, yeah. That's always the problem at the car shows. Come up and take a
Yeah,
look at the backside of somebody in the back of someone's head because you can't see it.
yeah, that's
But coming this summer, I guess it's a great time to. You should actually reveal it in the spring so people will buy it for summertime driving. It's interesting. It really is, and what no probably no intelligence on whether they could ever bring put the Hemi back in it, but I think they could. Will they? Fuel economy numbers loosening up a little bit, maybe. Maybe they will. Who knows down the line? But they're certainly going to give the Hurricane, which is the name of the straight six engine, a boost, and even the electric version a boost too. Do we know pricing on the electric version? I bet it's high. Oh, there's your scoop. There's your scoop on the front.
There's the interesting, yes, and it's really good looking. The interesting thing is there was a real shortage of Monronis at the show.
Okay.
That's a different take. I've always expected a Monroney on every vehicle, and it wasn't on more than half of them.
Is it because they're too new? They're not. These are not production vehicles.
It could be, but maybe there was some other reason. Maybe they just hadn't brought them yet or something. But
yeah, interesting
it
stuff.
was, people want to know what the price is.
Yeah, yeah. We got a couple of more minutes here, Les. Any other takeaways from the Washington D.C. Auto Show that you?
Well, I fell in love with the one show car, concept car, the Buick Wildcat.
Okay.
Which just is spectacular looking. It is what I believe the beautiful Buick Riviera from the '60s would have looked like 60 years later.
Okay.
And it's very buildable. In fact, I was talking with the actual product manager of it. He was there.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, yes, we could build this. It's an EV.
Mm-hmm.
It's a kind of a gull wing. It wasn't operating when I was there, but you open the door and the window pops down about 3 inches, and then the roof area over the door opens up like a flap.
Okay.
So it's like a gull wing, but the door isn't attached to it.
Okay. Might not make it to production, that part.
Well, right, but it's just beautiful and so slick, and I wish I could have driven it.
Yeah.
And across the hall from it was the ID Buzz Volkswagen.
I'm lucky enough to have that coming next week, so we'll have an at-the-wheel review.
You're going to love it.
Yeah,
you're going to love it.
It makes you happy, doesn't it? Looking at it.
Yeah, it's a happy car. It really is. It's also an expensive car.
Yes, I bet it is.
This was $78,000.
Wow. Okay. Well, there's that number again, 78,000.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, it's hard to believe that we'd be throwing around, hey, it's got 600 horsepower and it's 100,000, or that type of thing. Like we were just talking about that BMW. But hey, we hope you've enjoyed this edition of Cruise Control, your on-air automotive magazine, and it is time for me to say I'm Fred Staab.
I'm Les Jackson.
We are going to see you down the road. Take care.
Bye.